A line on a page seems like a simple thing, does it not? But in the hands of a master, it can become a confession, a revelation, a portrait of the truth that no camera could capture. We live in a world defined by digital certainty, by algorithms and logs, that promise an objective, unshakable record of everything that ever happened.
We are told to trust the data. But what happens when that data is the most sophisticated lie ever told? What happens when the only defense against a perfect digital frame-up is not a counter-algorithm or a rival hacker, but a pencil, a sheet of paper, and the steady hand of an artist who sees what machines cannot?
This is the story of a man who had to draw his way out of a masterpiece of deception. A legal battle where the courtroom became a canvas, and justice was found not in binary code, but in the heart of an illustration. Imagine you are a brilliant artist, celebrated for bringing truth and emotion to life with just a pencil.
Now imagine standing in the cold, sterile hush of a courtroom, accused of a crime that is the complete opposite of everything your art represents. You face a cold, calculated, multi-million-dollar fraud, and the evidence against you is a perfect, undeniable digital trail. Every log, every transfer, every keystroke screams your name.
Your career is finished. Your reputation is in ruins. Your only defense is a stack of cryptic hand-drawn sketches that nobody in that courtroom understands or wants to understand. In that moment, a pencil and a sketchbook are all that stand between you and decades inside a cell.
The artist's name was Elias Vance, a quiet, almost reclusive genius, whose anatomical sketches and intricate portraits had earned him a reputation for startling honesty. Critics described his work as having the quality of a confessional, as though his subjects had no choice but to reveal their true selves under his pencil.
His accuser was Julian Croft, a charismatic tech mogul, a titan of industry, and until recently, Elias's patron and closest professional ally. Croft had discovered Elias's work 5 years earlier and had become his most powerful champion, funding exhibitions and commissioning increasingly ambitious projects.
The crime was a breathtakingly bold act of wire fraud. Over 3 nights, a complex scheme had siphoned nearly $90 million from Croft's flagship tech firm, vanishing into a tangled web of offshore accounts that spanned 4 continents. The digital forensics team, the best in the business, presented a mountain of evidence that was as beautiful as it was damning.
There were IP logs originating from Elias's private studio network. There were encrypted emails, apparently sent from his devices, discussing the final transfer details in cold, methodical language. There were digital fund transfers authenticated with his unique security keys, credentials that only he could theoretically possess.
In court, Croft played the part of the betrayed mentor to near perfection. He spoke of bringing Elias in not merely as a contractor, but as a true collaborator, asking him to help visualize complex data streams for a proprietary new system. He had trusted Elias with access that few others possessed.
The prosecution painted a vivid picture of a disgruntled artist, a man who was jealous of his patron's wealth and success, who decided to execute a crime that only someone with his precise insider knowledge could have designed. To the world watching outside that courtroom, the story made complete sense. It had the clean logic of a parable.
It was a game of appearance versus truth, and appearance was winning by a landslide. The evidence was labeled irrefutable. Every expert called to the stand confirmed the same conclusion. Elias Vance had done this, and the data proved it beyond any reasonable doubt. Or so it seemed.
When Elias Vance finally had his chance to speak, he said nothing at all. Instead, with the court's reluctant permission and over the vigorous objections of the prosecution, he placed a large drawing on an easel beside the witness box. To the jury, to the judge, and to the deeply skeptical prosecution team, it looked like a simple, elegant architectural sketch of a server bank.
But woven through the server machinery were strange, organic lines that flowed like veins and arteries, pulsing with an unnatural rhythm, completely unlike the clean, rigid connections of a normal network diagram. Through his lawyer, Elias pointed to a detail in the corner, a single, almost invisible line that branched off from the main data artery and disappeared off the edge of the paper. He called it a ghost signal.
This ghost signal was not his entry point into the system. It was the real fraudster's secret backdoor, a vulnerability he had noticed months earlier during his legitimate work with Croft, and had tried unsuccessfully to warn his patron about. The drawing had been made long before any fraud took place. It was a documented observation, not a confession.
The prosecutor scoffed loudly, dismissing the drawing as a desperate and entirely self-serving piece of fiction. The question he put to the jury was blunt. How could a pencil sketch from months ago possibly refute a real-time digital record verified by 3 independent forensic experts? The courtroom buzzed with doubt. The drawing was undeniably beautiful, but as evidence, it felt like the argument of a drowning man.
The trial quickly became a media sensation. Elias Vance was branded the sketchy artist by a press that found the nickname equal parts mockery and intrigue. Legal experts flooded the airwaves, calling his defense strategy unprecedented and almost certainly doomed. How can a drawing, a subjective piece of art, stand against objective forensic data certified by experts? The answer, they agreed, was that it simply could not.
Julian Croft navigated the media storm with masterful precision. He gave somber, reluctant interviews, expressing his profound sadness and bewilderment. He spoke of his deep affection for Elias, lamenting the dark turn his friend's mind had apparently taken. He was the picture of grace under fire, a master manipulator who had spent decades controlling narratives, now performing the role of his career.
Days later, Elias presented his second drawing. This one was a portrait series, 5 faces, all of the same man. The subject was Derek Hollis, a low-level IT technician who had delivered the most damaging piece of eyewitness testimony in the entire trial, swearing under oath that he had personally witnessed Elias leaving the primary server room late on the night of the largest transfer.
The drawings were unsettling in their precision. In each sketch, the technician's expression was subtly different, as though caught in different moments of the same inner conflict. Most critically, Elias had drawn the direction of the man's glance across all 5 portraits, and it was consistent. The technician had not been looking at the location where Elias was supposed to have been. He had been looking across the hallway toward Julian Croft's executive office.
Elias argued that the witness's memory had been contaminated, that Hollis had not seen what he believed he saw, but had been coached, and his testimony built on a foundation of fear and manipulation. The prosecution erupted with objections. But for the first time in the trial, a genuine seed of doubt had been planted in that courtroom. A small crack had appeared in the perfect frame.
The final drawing was Elias's masterpiece. It was not a single image, but a complex, multi-layered schematic, presented on a massive board that filled the entire front of the courtroom. It connected every previous sketch into one single, terrifying narrative. It looked, the judge would later say in her notes, like the blueprint for an impossible machine, or the confession of one.
The drawing revealed how Croft had orchestrated the entire fraud himself. The ghost signal from the first drawing was not merely a vulnerability, it was a bespoke piece of code that Croft had personally designed. A mirroring software that could operate in absolute stealth. Using this tool, Croft had spent months building a perfect digital clone of Elias's entire online presence from a remote, untraceable server.
When the fraud was initiated, it was not Elias's fingers on the keyboard. It was Croft activating a sophisticated system that perfectly mimicked Elias's digital footprint in every measurable way, from his typing cadence and login patterns to his security protocols, and even the specific phrasing he used in emails. Every piece of forensic evidence pointed at Elias because it had been designed to.
The drawing then connected to the nervous technician. A series of smaller appended sketches illustrated precisely how Derek Hollis had been blackmailed. Croft had discovered a minor financial irregularity in Hollis's past employment and used it as leverage, forcing the young man into perjury with the implicit threat that exposure would destroy him. That compulsive glance toward Croft's office was not random. It was a subconscious plea for confirmation from the man who held his fate.
Finally, the drawing revealed the motive in its full, ruthless clarity. Croft's company was on the verge of a catastrophic financial collapse. The $90 million theft was a phantom transaction. Croft had simply moved his own money, planning to report it as a loss, claim a massive insurance payout on the fraud, and allow the company to fold, all while framing the one man who had unknowingly documented the system's hidden vulnerabilities in his art.
Elias's drawings were not legal proof on their own, but they offered something equally powerful. A new theory that changed everything investigators thought they knew about the crime. Armed with this reframing, a team of independent digital forensics experts went back to the beginning. They stopped searching for traces of Elias in the data and began searching for the ghost signal he had drawn. And they found it.
Buried deep within the server architecture was the telltale signature of the mirroring software, a digital echo that investigators had previously dismissed as a routine system glitch. They re-interrogated Derek Hollis, this time without Croft's intimidating presence in the room, and confronted with the knowledge that his lie had been fully exposed, the young technician crumbled. He confessed to the blackmail and the coach's testimony, confirming every single detail that Elias had illustrated.
The digital illusion shattered. The perfect, data-driven case against Elias Vance evaporated, replaced by the stark, hand-drawn truth of Julian Croft's treachery. The master manipulator, who had believed he could control reality itself with code and charisma, was exposed by the one thing he could not fake, replicate, or delete. The honest, perceptive eye of an artist who had seen the truth where no one else was looking.
The story of Elias Vance reminds us that in an age where digital evidence is treated as infallible, any system designed by a human being can be manipulated by one. The more we rely on technology to define our reality, the more vulnerable we become to those who are masters at fabricating it. Justice, in the end, was not delivered by an algorithm. It was drawn, stroke by stroke, by a man who saw the truth when no one else was willing to look. In the future, what will you trust more? The perfect evidence you can see, or the imperfect truth you can understand?